Hi, this is Brian Eisenberg. I am here at Search Engine Strategy Chicago with Mikel Chertudi, Senior Director of Demand Generation for Adobe. And we just finished a session on attribution. It was called channel surfing. Lots of people, actually more than 90% of people have this problem, but they probably don't even know what the problem is. Can you help define what attribution and what the issue really is for people?
Sure. So attribution is defined simply as attributing metrics that are important metrics such as sales, orders, customers, leads, ROI as well, to different programs in marketing such as search or email or display or even PR, as well as radio, print, and TV, some of those offline conversions. So it's trying to get at tackling which of those different channels you attribute the credit to in terms of your marketing and media mix when you're trying to make decisions around your ROI and which of those channels are actually driving the results of your campaigns.
Now, I know it's pretty serious because you almost got fired over a $95 million attribution issue. Can you tell people a little bit about why they should overly be concerned about this now?
Yes, definitely. So essentially what happens in a lot of businesses is that we as marketers don't understand the level of attribution problems that we have. So there are three consequences of not getting attribution right. Number one, we will underspend or overspend in different channels because we're not apportioning the correct credit to one of those channels. Number two, it causes a lot of unhealthy tension within the marketing department around who gets credit. Is it the search marketing team? Is it the display marketing team? Is it the email marketing team? And if you're that one person doing all of that, you're dueling with yourself and schizophrenically fighting. The third area is that essentially what happens is we're not giving the resource of people's time in the right areas. If we're not apportioning credit from a sales perspective or customer or leads perspective, we're taking people's time that may be in the wrong areas. So not only is it a budget problem, but it's a resource problem with your internal teams as well, and they might be focusing on the wrong areas.
Now, you gave several tips on how to deal with this issue, but if you can just give our audience three simple things that they can do just to get them on the right track to deal with this attribution problem.
Yeah, great question. So number one, make sure that if you're using multiple technologies and tags for tracking systems, such as web analytics, as well as paid search bid management, as well as email service providers, as well as ad serving, all of those systems, instead of using the tagging and tracking from all of those and using disparate tracking codes, standardize, pick one system and use your attribution settings for view through and click through for one system, and then set your settings, whether it's a 90-day or a 60-day or a 30-day or a 7-day view through, so that they're all tied together with one system and that they're not overriding different systems, because you will be double counting for sure if you're using those different systems if you don't standardize on one. The second area that I would recommend is make sure that you're looking at beyond the last click. You need to look at first click, last click, linear weighted. These are all types of attribution settings that should be evaluated very, very carefully. And then you should also look at if there's a big difference between your first click and your last click, for example, that means you should be measuring both of those, as well as your linear. If the difference is smaller and you've got shorter sales cycles, then it's not as important to measure all of them, but create a baseline off of that. The third recommendation that I would give would be simply to understand that this is an evolution, and it's going to get better if you move away from the last click model. So you need to be specifically trying to improve upon that. There's another area where a lot of marketers get this wrong. They're measuring what brought them to their site, and then they're overriding that with what converted on their site, and then they're overriding that with remarketing to people through the leads or the emails that they've collected. Measure those three things separately. First, what brought them to the site, what converted, and lastly, what they're remarketing doing. If you can do those three things and understand it's an evolution and you're progressing, then you're on your way to success in making better decisions as a marketer.
Well, I'll definitely give you credit for educating our audience and as well as our viewers on learning more about attribution.
Great. Thanks, Brian.